Hey everybody, Rose Matter here. Welcome to part 30 of my Chaos Child Let's Play. Last episode we started Uki's route, the dream route, and it definitely so far is living up to that name with like her ability, which I believe is to create delusions on other people, which Gigalomaniacs can do that, but hers seems to be like to create almost like a dream world that I don't know, that like just makes people happy because she is that type of person where she just wants to serve others and not think about herself and just think about other people. And that seems to be the case with Takaru, where she's creating a world after he was attacked by Ito. Or no, I think Uki. That's right. Uki stabbed Takaru by accident because she went to attack Ito after she found the body of, I feel bad. I always forget this little sister's name, but like she attacked Ito. Takaru stepped in front of it, got stabbed. So I don't know if this is a thing where like Uki created her power to basically like create a dream world for Takaru while he's dying, but everything seems to be just going great in his life. You know, like he was recommended to be the host of the Nikonia News. He has a secret admirer who happens to be the prettiest girl in school that he's never heard of before. So of course, you know, a little bit too good to be true, but there's been little hints that things are just a little off. So that's very interesting. So we're going to continue on with the, with the route and see what's going to happen. The interesting about this is there's actually two separate versions of this ending. I believe there's Dream Sky and Another Sky. So we'll see what the difference is on that. Of course, I was trying to get all the endings. But anyway, let's get back into it and let's see what happens next. The door closed. My cool, casual demeanor broke into a giant grin. I was going to be a guest commentator on Nikonia News, and on top of that, I'd gotten a love letter from Aozaki Yume, the most beautiful girl in the school. On the way back home, I'd had to stop myself from skipping around Shibuya. I said the words aloud to try and get myself under control. Some things are just too good to be true. Yep, I wonder if he's realized, like, this is suspicious. Maybe Ito was right, and it really is just a prank. The first rule of entertainment is to make it seem like things are going well right before everything goes to hell. Not that my life is mere entertainment, obviously. That could also apply to a lot of the games I play. It's like whenever things seem to be going too well, it means you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Anyway, if it is a prank, why would anyone bother? Is the goal to laugh and to make fun of me? Who'd want to do that? Okay, so for this one, there's, like I said, there's two separate endings you can get in this one. There's Dream Sky and Another Sky. So for this one, you have to choose positive here, I believe. Which makes sense, right? If this is Dream Sky, if this is a dream, as I am assuming it is, or like a delusional world that he's living in, obviously we want things to go well. So I'm assuming with Another Sky, it's going to be like the reality is going to come crashing down on him as he realizes that this isn't happening. Or maybe people can sense the light of my inner genius no matter how hard I try to hide it. But normally, I don't stand out at all. Everyone seems to get the wrong idea, but I always try to keep myself out of the limelight. And yet, Aozaki Yume found me anyway, which means that she's special. The chosen right-sider and the chosen beauty drawn together by a special destiny. Is this fate after all? Maybe someone's planning to get my hopes up as much as possible before humiliating me on video and uploading it to social media. There are other possibilities, too. This could also be someone's way of getting me to sign up for expensive English language instruction materials, or join some weird cult. Either way, the fastest way to find out was to read it. That would give me a clue as to whether it was real or a prank. I cut off just a tiny bit of the top of the envelope and took out the letter from inside. The letter was written on pretty pink paper that matched the envelope. I started to read the contents of the letter.
なになに？突然のお手紙でごめんなさい。けれど、もうこの溢れそうな思いを
私の小さな胸の内だけに閉じ込めておくのは苦しくて切なくて、今にも胸が張り裂けそうで。このお手紙だけで宮代先輩に私の思い全てを伝えられるかどうかはすごく不安です。それでもやっぱり我慢できなくて、だから思いの丈全てを込めて筆を綴ります。これまで私はずっと宮代先輩のことを見ていました。知的で何でも知っていて、それに新聞部の部長としてたくさんの人から慕われていて、なのにそれをひけらかすことなくいつもクールで、その眼鏡の奥に隠されたまっすぐな瞳を見るたびに、私の心は締め付けられるように苦しくなっちゃうんです。そうしていつしか私は宮代先輩の虜になっていました。最近では寝ても覚めても宮代先輩のことばかり。このままでは私はどうにかなってしまいそう。もちろん私なんかが宮代先輩のような素敵な方と釣り合うとは思いません。でももしも宮代先輩が少しでも私のことに興味を持ってくれるのなら、最初はただの後輩としてでもいいんです。先輩、私と真剣にお付き合いしていただけませんでしょうか。
Just reading it was enough to make me feel dizzy. I was ashamed that I had ever doubted her. I could feel Aozaki Yume's pure, innocent feelings for me pouring forth. Joy burst from within my heart.
一人の痛いけな少女を核も虜にしてしまうなんて。僕はなんて罪な男なんだ。
I ran my hand up and back through my hair and adjusted the rim of my glasses, then sighed dramatically. Like, I'm wondering if in this world, does this girl even exist and he just created her? Like, everything that he wants is happening. So I don't know if this is... I can't remember what her power is. Whether it's, like, she's creating the world that the person wants, like their innermost desires, that creates this world, or if she's creating it like from what she thinks the other person would want. I'm not quite sure. Like, the way that it was described, it sounds like something that Miyashiro would come up with in his brain, of a letter that a girl, and of course it's the prettiest girl in school that he has no idea existed until today. It just seems like the kind of thing that he would write in his head for a girl to send him, like, you're so cool and you know everything and everyone respects you, but you're also so modest. And then I saw it. At the bottom of the letter, there was an 11-digit number. Was that a cell phone number?
お返事待ってます。
That was what it said in cute round letters next to the number. My throat went dry and my stomach started to clench.
電話で返事しろってことか。
She wanted me to talk on the phone with a girl that I'd never met before, and one who was supposedly the prettiest to come along in a decade? Serica and the other newspaper club members were one thing, but I still got nervous talking to my classmates. This was asking way too much. Like, obviously the fact that we are in a delusion right now, it feels like we're in a delusion within a delusion. I realized I'd been standing there clutching the love letter for hours. If I waited any longer, I would lose the chance to call her. Not to mention, it must have taken her a lot of courage to write this letter. So if I didn't respond, Serica and Karusu would get mad at me. And not only would it be rude to her, it would go against my own sense of morals and etiquette.
よし。
I gathered up all my willpower, took out the phone, and dialed the number on the paper. And then I tapped the screen with a trembling finger, and it started to ring. The wait was torture. I had to try my best to stop from hanging up. And then she picked up. Whoa! Ooh, ooh, do you want to be my girlfriend? Damn it, I stuttered. I totally screwed that up.
僕、
I tried my best to start over. Is this Aozaki-san's voice? Oh. That sounds like Sarika. I could be mistaken. Taku. Yeah, and also Taku. She's the one who calls him Taku. How did she know my nickname? Huh? This voice. Is that? No way. I know I entered the right number. And that's Kurusu. It's like they're trying to break through the delusion. This is interesting. This time it was another voice. The voice belonged to... What's going on? Why am I talking to Sarika and Kurusu? Maybe the girls sent me the letter as a prank? No, wait. I can see Sarika and Ito doing that, but would Kurusu really go along with something like that? No way, Kurusu isn't the type. She would never do something so childish. Besides... It sounds like they're talking about something really urgent. This doesn't feel like a prank or an act. And why is the connection so bad? My heart started to beat faster. What was going on? What were they talking about? There was so much noise on the line, it was almost impossible to make them out. And they seemed like they were in a big hurry. Oh, where you are isn't maybe like real? This isn't real?
おい、さっきから何言ってるか全然聞こえないぞ。もっと電波のいいところに。
What is the sensation I'm feeling? What was I... Oh, right, the phone. I was on the phone. I looked at the phone I was holding. It was still trying to connect me to Aozaki Yume. There was no signs that she'd picked up, and I couldn't hear Sarika or Kurusu at all. I'm so confused. What the hell was that? A dream? But it felt so real. The ringing continued. Just when I thought she might not pick up. It connected. Huh? The call went through, right? So this is Aozaki Yume's voice. It's so cute. It took everything I had to keep my voice from shaking. Geez, what am I doing? The sweet voice from the phone is making me its prisoner. I took a deep breath and let out all the air in my lungs. I'd been in such a panic that I didn't even remember what I talked about. The only thing I could even barely recall was that we had agreed to go on a date after school tomorrow. She told me it would be embarrassing to let the girls in her class see her, so she wanted to meet me someplace a little further away from the school. So we both agreed to meet at Cafe Lux, I think.
Huh? 待てよ。
My brain had started working again, and I realized the mistake I'd made. Oh, if we went to Lax, someone from the newspaper club could see us. Not to copy what Aozaki-san said, but I'd be embarrassed to let them see me too. Maybe I should change the meeting location. I took out and tapped the number I just called. However,
おかけになった番号は
mm,
現在電波の届かないところにいるか電源を切っているためかかりません。
all right, so they're trying to get me at Cafe Lax for a reason, I feel like. This feels like a setup, or I feel like I'm walking into something here. I'm assuming that this is going to be the quote-unquote, like, the good ending, where maybe I just live in blissful ignorance of what's actually happening. Instead of her beautiful voice, I was met with the cold voice of a recording.
おかしいな。
Maybe she's taking a bath? Or she ran out of battery? We were talking for a long time, so it's certainly possible. I tried again, but
おかけになった番号は現在電波の届かないところにいるか電源を切っているためかかりません。
it was the recording again. What was going on? But if she wasn't picking up, there wasn't anything I could do. She'd be able to see I called, so she would call me back when she looked at her phone. And come to think of it, we could go someplace else after meeting at Cafe Lax. Even if we did run into someone, we could probably talk our way out of it. Probably. And so, suddenly, there was a knock at the door and I almost leapt out of my chair.
こんな時間に。
For a moment, I thought back to the return of the new Gen madness, and I felt a cold sweat start to form under my armpits. I looked outside, afraid.
あれ、
Outside the door was a girl I knew well.
ウキ。
What was she doing here? Whatever she was here for, I couldn't leave her out there. Uki looked relieved when she saw me.
なんだよ、こんな時間にどうした？
すみません、突然。実はこれ。
She handed me a plastic container wrapped in a tiny sack.
これ、お夕食のお裾分けなんですけど、もしよかったら。
お裾分け？
はい、佐久間先生がちゃんとしたものをタクルさんに食べさせるようにって、それで私が。
I don't trust any food coming from that man.
ウキが作ったのか？
はい。
Oh, okay, never mind.
美味しいかどうかはわかりませんが。
I took the sack. The container was still warm. It must have been made just a little while ago.
それでは私はこれで。
Oh, your little backpack's so cute. Uki bowed her head and turned to go.
あ、
She's just so cute. I tried to say thank you, but the words got stuck in my throat. She suddenly turned back to face me.
タクルさん。いただいた観葉植物、毎日大事にお世話してますから。もしよければ、今度、私のお部屋に見に来てください。
She smiled and fidgeted as she looked up at me. Like maybe she's got like a little crush on Takaru, so maybe she's giving him the delusions to make him happy as well. I don't know, she definitely seems to have taken a liking to it. It could just be a little childhood crush, it could be just maybe she sees him as family. I don't know. This is a strange route. They're all a little weird, but certainly not as weird as the Kazuki one so far. And then she ran off into the darkness before I could say anything. The meal she had made for me had a very kind, gentle taste. Sleepy. Last night I'd been too excited to sleep properly. I'd gone through all the back issues of Cool Cat Press I could find, trying to learn all the best dating tips, and the next thing I knew it was light outside. As a result, my mind had been dulled from exhaustion all morning, and my usually stylish and cool mannerisms were missing a little of their sharpness.
いたいた。おはよう、タク。おはよう。ずいぶんと眠そうね。さてはまた夜更かししたんでしょ。
I wonder if he's gonna mention, be like, did you guys try to call me last night? Or like, I called you and it was very weird and distorted?
いいよな。そりゃあんなことがありゃ眠れないよな。
As I sat down at my seat, I was surrounded by familiar faces. I took out the contents of my bag and put them in my desk, trying as hard as I could to act natural.
なんだなんだ、そのすかした態度は。
そうだよ。せっかくこうして教室まで挨拶しに来てあげたのにさ。
そもそもなんでわざわざ教室まで来るんだよ。
そんなの決まってるじゃないすか。気になるからですよ。
She was definitely talking about what happened with Iwazaki Yumi's letter. I couldn't stop thinking about her myself. A date after school, a date with the most beautiful girl in school. There was no way I'd be able to think about anything else. My mind was already spinning like a merry-go-round with happy fantasies. No. If I start getting excited and freak out over a single date, I'll be no different from those wannabe normie wrong-siders. But...
ねえ、タク、教えてよ。
Sarika smacked her hands down on my desk and leaned forward.
何の話だよ。
だから昨日の手紙のことだってば。
別に尾上には関係ないだろ。
はあ、なるほどなるほど。
なんだよ。
さては大方の予想通り単なるいたずらだったってオチですね。そうなの？
やっぱりな。俺もそうだと思ってたんだよな。つかそうに決まってる。だって宮代がだぞ。まさかあの宮代がリア充にクラスチェンジするだなんてありえんもんな。
Alright, so what's he gonna do here? Is he either gonna be like, yeah, it was a prank, and then Armor's gonna realize he's lying, or is he going to say like, no, it was legit, and then Armor's gonna be like, wait, he's not lying? Projecting much, Ito? Well, if that's what he wants to think, then fine. But the reality is the exact opposite.
ほらほら、みんなそんな風にしつこく聞くものじゃないわ。あくまでもタクルのプライベートな話なんだから。のんちゃんは気にならないの？私は別に。その割にはさっきからずっとここにいますよね。それはそう、ほら、ちゃんともらった手紙には誠意を持ってお返事しなきゃダメよって言おうかなって。
ほう。
だからまあタクルが教えてくれるっていうなら、そのねえ。
No what? You just want to find out as badly as everybody else, don't you, Kurisu?
それで
だから何がそれでなんだよ。
いいじゃん。いい加減もったいつけずに教えろって。手紙だよ、手紙。ズバリどうだったんだよ。
本物だったの？それともいたずらだったの？
それはとにかくその話は終わりだ。そんなことより僕たちが今話すべきは昨日できなかった企画の話だ。
Yeah, he's like, I'm not gonna confirm nor deny it, because if he says anything, Armor's gonna know the truth. Everyone sounded upset. Even Kurusu joined in.
ケチ。
いいじゃねえか、減るもんでもなし。
そうだそうだ。
なんと言おうとダメだ。というわけで、昼休みに企画会議の続きをするぞ。いいな。
It was clear that nothing good would come from talking to them about it. I tried to force the conversation to change direction, but...
なんで昼休み？部活は放課後だよね。あ、今明らかにギクってしましたね。
つうことは。
放課後に何かあるってことですな。
いや、それは。
あるのね。
あるな。
あるね。
Everyone found out immediately. Will I be able to complete my mission after school? No, I have to. For the sake of my bright, shining future.
それじゃあ、また放課後に来るね。
That sounds like a threat.
伊藤先輩、ちゃんと見張っててくださいね。
おう、任せとけ。
楽しみだね。放課後。
つまり、ここまでをまとめるとだね。
I kept thinking about what would happen after school, even during Mr. Wakui's lecture. Awazaki Yume, a girl whom everyone claimed was not only the prettiest girl in her grade, but the most beautiful in the school. I thought about going to see what she was like this morning, but eventually decided not to. If she saw me, she'd think I'd come to check her out.
宮代先輩って人を外見で判断するんですね。幻滅です。
If that happened, everything would be ruined. I wonder what she's like. Her voice is cute. I know that for a fact. If you can tell whether someone's pretty from their voice, then I can say without a doubt, she must be gorgeous. The real question is what she's like on the inside. Even if she is cute, I don't want to date a girl who's just, wow, who's a shallow slut. The whole but only if they're hot thing is for shallow people with shallow minds. Okay. A common, if unspoken, addendum to many things girls say about guys they like. For example, I like a man who's funny, but only if they're hot. Or I like a man who can cook, but only if they're hot. It's a simple, blunt phrase used to denote that no matter how much one likes a gesture or action performed by the opposite sex, it will not be effective unless they are attractive. A true right-sider like me won't be deceived by appearances. But still, they say you can't judge a book by its cover, but it's also true that what's on the outside of a person reflects on who they are inside. Which means that on the inside, she has to be...
それじゃあ、この先を宮代くんに読んでもらおうかな。宮代くん。
おい、宮代。当てられてるぞ、宮代。
え？
I suddenly realized the whole class was looking at me.
宮代くん。もしかして聞いてなかった？
いえ。
I stood up and then froze. Crap, where am I supposed to be reading from exactly?
122ページ4行目だ、宮代。
Ito, I owe you one.
こんな夢を見た。腕組みをして枕元に座っていると、仰向きに寝た女が静かな声でもう死にますという。女は長い髪を枕に敷いて、輪郭の柔らかなウリザネ顔をその中に横たえている。真っ白な頬の底に温かい血の色が程よくさして、唇の色は無論赤い。しかし女は静かな声で、総州夢に胡蝶となる。
Interesting. And the title, because when you have the different parts of the game, they have like different titles. And the title of this one, last I saw, was Butterfly. So this has got to be a connection to a whole thing about a dream. I became a butterfly in your dream. This section of the game is called Butterfly.
苦然として胡蝶なり。
As I read the passage, I started to get confused. I had to read Sosuke's 10 Nights of Dreams in class before, but I didn't remember this part.
自分も確かにこれは死ぬなと思った。そこで知らず衆の夢に胡蝶
This is probably related to Uki,
胡
right?
蝶の夢に衆となれる
Or maybe me?
と上から覗き込むようにして聞いてみた。衆と胡蝶とはすなわち必ず死にますとも。
Oh, shit.
女はパッチリと目を開け、あなた
Oh.
も夢の中にいるの。
If you don't get out soon, you won't be able to get out at all.
早く脱出しないと戻れなくな
Taku.
ってしまうわよ、タクト。
Okay, so this is, yeah, literally it is like, so maybe, yeah, this is gonna be, if I stay in this dream world, I won't be able to get out and I just live in my blissful ignorance. But if I choose the negative delusions and to get out of it, then I have to face the reality. What?
おいおい、宮代くん、一体どこを読んでいるんだい？
いや、
My classmates must have found my reaction funny because they all started to laugh.
おいおい、いくらいいこと続きだからってしっかりしろって。
I just stood there in shock as the rest of the class laughed at me. I looked back at the textbook and there was nothing like that written there. Of course, the text certainly didn't have my name in it. What the hell was that? Was that just a delusion? Come to think of it, something weird had happened last night too. Was Ito right? Am I just feeling overwhelmed because I've been chosen as a news commentator and received a love letter? Like, it's Serica and Crusoe were like, we need to tell him, he needs to, like, they were saying something about, you know, this isn't real or he's got to get out. And then this literally says, if you stay in the dream for too long, you won't be able to get out of it. Or am I still tired after all the stuff that happened with the case? The harder I tried to think about it, the harder it got to think at all.
やれやれ。どうやら寝ぼけてるようだし、顔を洗ってきた方がいいんじゃないか？
すいません。
I could feel the rest of the class staring at me as I weaved my way through the desks and out to the hallway. I should probably just do what he suggested and go wash my face. Maybe that will make my head feel clearer. My footsteps echoed down the empty hallway as I headed for the washroom, when suddenly I saw it again. There was no way I could mistake it for anything else. It really was a D-sword, and the person holding it was...
Uki.
But why? Before I could say anything, she turned around and ran away on tiny feet. I ran after her. I was sure she went this way. I found Uki and quickly ran over to her.
Uki!
Takuru-san.
Uki looked up at me, confused. Her bangs were a little wet, and she'd been wiping them with a handkerchief. She wasn't holding a D-sword. She was just holding a girly handkerchief.
何をしてるんだ？
実は授業中にうっかり居眠りをしてしまって、それで先生に顔を洗ってくるようにって。
So maybe she's trapped in the dream too, and she's not aware of it?
居眠り？
はい。最近朝早くから夜遅くまで施設のお手伝いをしているので疲れてしまったみたいで。
Her little body seemed to get even smaller as she apologized. Looking at her now, it was impossible to believe she might have been planning to do something evil with her D-sword.
そうか。
恥ずかしい話ですが。
Her cheeks went red with shame and she turned her head downward.
それじゃあ私は授業に。
ああ。
Uki bowed her head and then disappeared down the hall. Here it was again. I was seeing things again. What was happening to me? Lunchtime came and I went to the club room like I'd originally planned. I was still thinking about the creepy thing I'd seen.
皆さんこんにちは。お待ちかね劇評ランチボックスの時間です。今日も皆さんのお昼ご飯を彩っちゃいますよ。というわけでしばらくの間お付き合いくださいね。
The broadcasting club was playing their daily lunch broadcast. How many people actually looked forward to this?
さてさて、 ツタンカーメンの王母が発見された日だそうです。そしてもう一つ、いいリンゴの日でもあるそうですよ。いちいちでも最近はすっかり肌寒さが増してきて、リンゴっていうよりはこたつでみかんって感じかな。こたつの魔力ってすごいですよね。どんな怖い人でもこたつに入ると眠っちゃうんじゃないでしょうか。こたつで寝るのってすっごく幸せですよね。私も一度寝ちゃうとなかなか起きられなくて、早く目を覚まさなきゃ覚まさなきゃって。
No, you have to wake up. You have to wake up. You have to wake up.
早く目を覚まして。早く目を覚ましてタク。
What was that? Is someone calling my name?
そこにいちゃダメ。早く目を覚まさないと戻れなくなっちゃうよ。
I won't be able to come back? What does that mean? I know I said before that, like, the dream ending is going to be the good... I don't think it's the good ending. I don't think either of these will be good endings, but at least one will be, like, the delusional ending, for sure.
おい、それって一体。
さあ、それでは今日のリクエスト曲いってみましょう。最初の
Oh, Phantasm. The lunchtime broadcast was back to normal. All the other students were acting like nothing was out of the ordinary. They were discussing what anime was good this season or where they were going after school. It was like that broadcast had never happened.
やっぱりおかしいよ
At this point, even I had to admit that something wasn't right. Was I going crazy?
タクルさん、どうしたんですか？
I heard a voice and turned around. And I gasped again. Uki was standing there holding a shining blade. I wonder if there's like two Ukis. There's like one with the blade and one without. Maybe this one is keeping me in the dream and the other one is trapped in the dream. Or maybe this one's trying to get me... I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
どうしたんですか？
What the hell? I adjusted my glasses and took another look. Uki was in front of me, but she wasn't holding a D-sword. Her oval eyes went wide with surprise.
私がどうかしましたか？
いや、なんでもないんだ。
そうですか。
I tried to act calm, but Uki didn't seem satisfied.
その、ウキも物質だよな。
はい。
一緒に行こうか。
はい。
I walked ahead so she couldn't tell how worried I was getting on the inside. I could feel her following me from behind.
あ、来た来た。チャオス。
Everyone was already in the room.
私お茶入れますね。
I watched Uki start to make the tea, like always, and sat down in my chair.
なんだなんだ、でっかいため息なんかついて。まさか昨日の今日でいきなり彼女に振られでもしたか？
違う、そんなんじゃない。
I let my head droop down as I tried to think. What was happening to me didn't seem to make sense. Was it only happening to me? Either way, I didn't think I'd be able to solve this problem on my own. Which meant...
あのさ、ちょっと聞いてほしいんだけど。
ん？どうしたの？改まって。
あのさ、実は。
And then I told them all about everything that had happened since last night. I didn't mention Uki's name since she was right there.
それって大丈夫なのかな？専門のお医者様に見てもらった方がいいかもしれないわね。
Everyone started to give their own opinions.
私はあんまり考えすぎない方がいいと思いますけどね。ほら、気の持ちようってのもありますし。
そうそう、 女の子から手紙もらって舞い上がってるだけだろ。
そうかな。
Maybe I was just overthinking things. In all honesty, I didn't want to think too hard about it. Maybe I just wanted to hear that everything was okay, just continuing to live in ignorant bliss. I did feel a little better getting it off my chest.
タコ？
あ、いや、参考になった。礼を言うよ。
もういいの？
なあ、それに企画の話もしなくちゃならないし、いつまでも僕の問題にかまけている時間もないだろう。
それはそうだけど。
それじゃあ改めて今後の活動についてだけど。
それじゃあ当面の活動目標は渋谷復興祭のレポートっていうことでいいわね。
We ended up picking the obvious answer for our project. I'd been opposed to it until now, but after what was happening to me, I honestly didn't care anymore. I'd have been just as happy to do a cooking video. Even the excitement I'd been feeling for my after-school date was beginning to fade. As the school day drew to a close, I kept turning my phone on and then turning it off again. Of course, I was thinking of calling Aozaki-san. My mood kept getting darker and darker as afternoon classes proceeded. I didn't feel like I was up for a date anymore. It wouldn't be right to spend a date feeling like this. And more than anything, it would be rude to her. Part of me wanted to do it another day, and part of me didn't want to waste this chance. I thought and thought and...
やっぱり今日は体調が悪いってことにして別の日に伸ばしてもらおう。
May as well get it over with then. I turned my phone on again before I could change my mind, then tapped in her number. She didn't answer.
もう一回。
She still didn't answer. I kept trying, but she never picked up. Come to think of it, she would have seen that I called last night, but she hadn't called me back. If you got a call from someone you liked, wouldn't you normally pick up right away? Or call back as soon as you could?
仕方ない。
It might not be ideal, but it would be better than blowing her off. I decided to visit the second-year classrooms. But I didn't know what Aozaki-san looked like. I only knew her name and phone number. Maybe I should have asked Ito first, but there was no helping that now.
せめて有村がいれば。
She'd be able to tell me what class Aozaki was in, at least. I went to Aramura's classroom, but I couldn't find her. She must have gone home already. I guess I'll just have to...
はい。
I worked up what little courage I had and asked one of the girls walking by.
ちょっといいですか。
なんですか？
その青崎ゆめさんのクラスってどこですか？
は？
I wonder if they're gonna be like, who is she?
青崎ゆめさん。
I wonder if she doesn't exist anymore.
青崎？
It sounds like she doesn't know her. That was strange. If she was the prettiest girl in school, she should have at least heard of her. I asked someone else, but...
青崎さん知ってる？知らない。てかそんな人2年にはいなくない？
There wasn't. Aramura had said she was the prettiest girl in the school, not just the second-year class. Ito knew about her, and he'd even been jealous of me. I talked to her last night on the phone. I decided to visit the first-year class just to be sure. Maybe I'd heard wrong and Aozaki-san was a first-year student, not a second-year student. But...
いませんよ、そんな子。
would you not be able to, like, is there a yearbook you could check? What the hell's going on? How could there be nobody named Aozaki Yume in either grade?
そうだ。
I decided to call Aramura. This was the first time I could remember where she hadn't picked up the phone. Fine, I'll send an email. I waited, but got no answer. What the hell? What was happening here? A black shadow started to weigh down on my heart. Did this have something to do with the other strange things that were happening around me? Or was my earlier guess right, and Aramura and the others were trying to prank me? I wasn't going to get anywhere sitting around all day waiting for an answer. I ended up going to Cafe Lax where we were supposed to meet. I was sure if I went there, I'd be able to find her. Even if it was a prank, my friends would all be there eagerly awaiting my arrival. Either way, I'd learned something. I went into the cafe and looked around from a slightly concealed vantage point.
何をしておる？
あ、いや、ちょっと。
まあよい。さっきからずっと待っておるぞ。
Every time I see this girl, she looks so out of place. She looks like she belongs in a magical girl anime. Like, I know the joke is I'm suspicious about every character, but she just seems so... It's kind of like the teacher. It's just weird that she gets as much screen time as she does. maybe I think Mr. Wakui, well, I thought he was kind of the big bad. Turns out he's just an assassin. Maybe this girl's the big bad. Maybe she's like the secret member of the committee or whatever.
So.
Huh? Wait a second.
今なんて？
待ち人じゃ。ほれ、そこに。
And how did she just happen to know that, right? All part of the delusion. I adjusted my glasses and took another look. I mean, she's the prettiest girl in school. I feel bad to say she looks kind of mid. I guess she looks like a shoujo character, I suppose. Very soft. She's Awazaki Yume? Maybe this is like his version of what a perfect girl is. Maybe he's conjured this in the delusion, or Uki did. All thought evaporated from my mind. The world quickly lost its color, and all the noise around me seemed to fade away. The only thing I could see was the girl in front of me. A shock like a gunshot went through my chest. Her silken hair, her long eyelashes, her oval eyes like stars, her perfect nose, her lips the color of pale cherry blossoms. Her chest was the perfect size. Yeah, right? See? It seems like it is like basically his dream girl that he's conjured up. Her chest was perfect, not too large and not too small, and her hips were curvy, but not too curvy. Her skin was smooth and it glowed like there was a light shining from within her. And more than anything, her beautiful smile as she looked at me. Every part of her body seemed to have been blessed by the goddess of beauty herself.
Senpai?
Yes, she was an angel. She was a miracle who had descended from heaven. She was customized to be exactly what I wanted. Just what I said. That was no exaggeration. It was the only way I could think of it. I was looking at the very incarnation of everything I'd ever wanted in a girl. What could I call this except a miracle or a delusion? All the doubts in my back of my mind crumbled away like sand blown by the wind. All the girls in the lower classes at Hekio had told me they'd never heard of Awazaki Yume, but she was right here, right in front of me. What other fact could I possibly need?
どうしたんですか先輩
Alright, so we want the positive delusion for this one as well. That's right, I didn't need anything else. Everything I needed was right in front of me. Believe and you shall be saved, as they say.
待った。
But just as I took a step toward her... Oh, what's this? I heard loud footsteps coming up the outside stairs. The footsteps stopped, and then I heard the door open. I turned around and saw probably Uki. Or Sarika. Maybe Sarika's gonna be like, I'm gonna confess my love to you too. Don't do it. Don't be with this girl.
お前、お前なんでここに？もしかしてつけてきたのか？
Or something similar to the delusion, whereas like before, even when I had the positive delusion, they were still trying to get through to me and be like, you have to get out of this.
つけてきたんじゃないもん ついてきたんだもん。
どっちだって同じだろ。なんでそんなことするんだよ。
だって気になるんだもん。
は？聞こえないよ。はっきり言えって。
だから気になるんだもん。
Sarika stuck her lips out into a pout and sulked.
気になるってどうせ面白半分だろ。さすがにそういうのはどうかと。
違うもん。そうじゃないもん。
だったらどういうことだよ。
トクはさ。
Sarika never held back about anything what she was thinking, but now she's looked really hesitant. It felt weird seeing her act this way.
トクはゆめちゃんになんて返事をするの？オッケーって言ってそのままラブラブになっちゃうの？
ラブラブって。
オッケーするんでしょ？しちゃうんだよね。
それは。
やっぱりそうなんだ。オッケーしちゃうんだ。それで人前で堂々とイチャイチャしたり、放課後の学校でチューしちゃったりするんだ。
お前何言ってんだ。
そりゃ相手は学園一の美少女だし、断る理由なんてないよね。
あのな、別に僕がどう返事しようがお前には関係ないだろ。
It felt like she was throwing a tantrum, and I reacted coldly. Normally, she would just complain more, but today, something was different about Sarika.
おのえ。
関係なくないもん。
The lighting of the cafe reflected off of her wet eyes.
おのえ。
I had no idea. I had no idea Sarika could look so sad.
関係なくなんかないもん。
おい。
私だって本当はずっとずっとタクのこと見てたのに、タクの一番そばにいたのに、本当はずっとずっとタクのこと一番好きだったのに。それなのにこんなのいきなり出てきた女の子に取られちゃうなんて、そんなのやだよ。
All I could do was stand there like an idiot as she sobbed. Sarika is in love with me? She always has been? No, but she's never shown any signs of that. I had no idea what to do. At no time in my short life had I ever dealt with anything like this.
とにかくちょっと落ち着こう。
That was all I could say. I'd always thought of Sarika as a friend, as someone I could always count on regardless of her sex. I'd never really seen her as a girl. I thought we could always be friends like that. But
もういいよ、タクのバカ。
あ。
she turned away and ran down the stairs, the tears reflecting in the light as they streamed down her face.
待てって、ちゃんと話を。
I tried to follow after her when... What? Was that a delusion? Then where's the real Sarika?
すみません。
The footsteps coming up the stairs weren't Sarika's. They belonged to a man I'd never seen before. Sarika? In love with me? What was I thinking? It's impossible. I suddenly gasped in surprise. Aozaki-san had been right there in the chair a moment ago. Oh, but now she vanished. I looked all around the room, but she was nowhere to be seen. Had she gotten annoyed watching me stand there and gone home? No, that was impossible. There was only one entrance to the cafe. It was impossible for her to leave without me seeing it. I went to where she had been sitting and took a closer look. but there was nothing on the table. There was no sign that anyone had even put a water glass on the table. The chair was pushed in. There was nothing to hint that anybody had been sitting there at all.
なんだよこれ。一体どうなってるんだ。
I saw a girl sitting here. I know I heard her voice. Was that all a hallucination? Another product of my delusions? I suddenly felt a gaze. I looked around the cafe but didn't see anyone. I looked outside, and outside the window on the other side of the street where the sun was setting, I saw a tiny silhouette looking up at me.
ウキ。
There was no doubt about it. And she looked at me with silent, calm eyes. There was an elegant and razor-sharp blade in her hand. I ran out of the store. This time, I'm sure of it. Uki was watching me. And he's probably going to see her and she's not going to have the sword. What was Uki doing there? If I can find that out, I might be able to figure out what's going on. It certainly spurred me to action. I ran as fast as I could after her as she fled. She was just a little kid. At this distance, I'll definitely be able to catch up to her. At least, that's what I thought. He's like, but then I realized I'm incredibly out of shape. But no matter how fast I ran, I didn't seem to get any closer. What was this weird sensation? It wasn't that my sense of distance was screwed up. It was like I was chasing something that wasn't there. I was moving my legs as fast as I could, but it was like in a nightmare where you're running from someone who's chasing you and you don't seem to be moving at all. This time, my desperation pushed me beyond my limits. My lungs felt like they were on fire. My sides stung from lack of exercise. My legs were screaming that they were about to give out, but I forced myself to keep going. Uki turned around and saw me, and then slipped through the turnstile to escape. I followed her through.
あれ。
I'd been in such a hurry that I hadn't put my card up to the machine, but it had let me through anyway. It had done the same for Uki, too. She hadn't gotten out her card either.
いや、今そんなことより。
I ran up the stairs to the platforms, and I was just in time to see a train slide into the Harajuku platform and watch Uki get on.
待てウキ、待って。
It disappeared? Uki had just gotten on a green car from the Yamanote line, and it was suddenly gone. It hadn't left the station. I would at least be able to see it then. The whole platform was quiet, like the train had never existed in the first place. And it wasn't only that. The whole station was strangely dark. I couldn't see a single person. A cold chill ran up my back. What was going on? I looked around again and again, but the place was as quiet as the surface of the moon. Complete silence. Complete emptiness. There was no customers, no employees either. The information boards were all black and showed nothing at all. This is impossible. Shibuya is supposed to be the 5th busiest station in Japan.
そうだ。ウキは。
I forced my tired legs to move and looked around for Uki, but the only sound on the platform were my footsteps, and there was no sign of Uki or anyone else.
くそ。一体何なんだよ。何がどうなってんだよ。
It felt like someone had torn open my skull and started fiddling with my hippocampus. I went down the platform and through the turnstile, and everything was back to normal. I had no idea what was going on anymore. And then I heard the sound of the train coming in above me, as if it was mocking me. I ran back up the stairs, feeling the people around me staring in bewilderment. But when I got up there, the platform was as empty as before. I had no idea what was going on anymore. The more I thought about it, the more confused I got. I staggered down the stairs, feeling defeated. Once I got back down, the world was normal again. I didn't feel surprised anymore. I just felt empty. I put my back to the wall and let myself slide to the ground. Maybe I'd gone crazy. Oh, that's... what's her face? I can't remember her goddamn name. She's from the first game. She's the singer, but I can't remember her name. I looked up and saw a commercial for a music artist playing on the big TV above Scrambled Crossing. It was playing a song by Phantasm that had just been released a few days before. And suddenly, there was no static on the screen. That voice. Serica and Kurusu too. Why am I hearing their voices from the TV?
Shibuya?
I heard a noise, and their voices vanished, only to be replaced by the Phantasm music video once more. Was that a hallucination? No. It was another message like the ones I'd heard before. The lights in the intersection changed and the people started to move. And beyond them, standing in a gap between the crowds, I saw a girl. It was Yamazoe Uki holding her D-sword. Suddenly it felt like a dam burst in my mind. Gigalomaniacs. Yamazoe Uki's power as a gigalomaniac. Okay, that's what it is. I was trying to remember what her power was. It was something to that effect, but I couldn't remember exactly. That's right. This whole thing started when I had that nightmare about being stabbed by Uki's D-sword. Then this must be... I started to move. The light was about to turn red, but I ran across the intersection anyway. I forced my way to the other side of the street as the car horns blared at me. When I grabbed her by her tiny shoulders, Uki jerked and looked up at me in shock. The D-sword she had been holding had vanished, but that didn't matter anymore. Pretending to be scared isn't going to work, you know. So I'm guessing there's like I've been saying, there's two versions of her. Maybe she's trapped in here with me and doesn't realize it?
Uki, お前さっきディソードを持ってたよな。最近僕の周りで起こっているおかしな出来事。あれはお前のせいなのか?
Uki shook her head frantically to the left and right as if she was trying to wriggle out of my grasp.
ダメだ。本当のことを話すまでは逃がさないからな。
She looked around for help. I realized that the people around me were staring at me suspiciously. Stares, stares, stares. They formed a circle looking at me with cold, inconsiderate eyes. Two black shadows forced their way through the crowd. This is bad.
どうした?何かやましいことでもあるのか?
違います彼女は知り合いで
犯罪を犯す奴は大体そう
犯罪違う僕は
話は署で聞かせてもらおうさあこっちへ来なさい
Strong arms grabbed me and held me tight. Uki slipped out of my grasp. She slid through the crowd and disappeared from my sight. If I get arrested here, not only will my life be over, but I might lose a critical clue.
あんた学生か?
これ壁標の制服ですね
ああなるほど道理であおい
I forced my way free and ran into the crowd. Does anyone ever actually does anyone actually stop when they hear that? If I was going to stop, I wouldn't have started running in the first place. I practically body slammed my way through the crowd, running as fast as I could while the people around cursed at me. How much time had I spent running today? It felt like I'd been chasing a phantom of Uki forever. At some point, my legs started to move on their own. I couldn't see the police anymore, but I was still terrified they might appear at any second. The only place I could go to was Aoba dorm.
Tokuru?
Kursu's eyes went wide when she saw me run in, out of breath. My lungs were begging me for oxygen. My heart was about to burn out like an engine low on gas.
どうしたの？そんなに慌てて何かあったの？
となのか。
I thought I'd be able to speak, but my throat had dried up too much for me to get the words out.
とにかく水でも飲んで落ち着きなさい。
Usually I'd ask for a mountain view, but now wasn't the time. I took a gulp of water from the glass Kurusu brought me and finally calmed down.
それで何があったの？
あれは本当なのか。
落ち着いて話しなさい。それじゃあ一体何のことを言ってるのかわからないわ。
だから最近何度も僕にメッセージを送ってきてるだろ。あれは本当なのか。
メッセージ？
そうだよ。ここは渋谷じゃないって何度も。
I swallowed the rest of my sentence when I saw the look on her face. She was blinking at me in confusion, with her head tilted to the side. It was clear she had no idea what I was talking about.
トクル？
やっぱり。
Let's say, just hypothetically, that this isn't the real Shibuya. If that's the case, that means the girl in front of me isn't the real Kurusu. It's just a delusional version of her, one that's only a part of this world of delusions. Which would mean I'm probably wasting my time asking her anything. There's no point.
ウキは
I decided to do something else.
ウキちゃんがどうかしたの？
ウキは部屋にいるのか。
いえ、まだ帰ってないけど。でもそうね。もう少ししたら戻るんじゃないかしら。
Huki shouldn't know that I'm here, and there's no other place for her to go as far as I know. So all I have to do is wait here for her.
ねえ、どうしたのタクル？何があったの？
いや別に。
別にって、とてもそんな風には思えないわ。ウキちゃんと何かあったの？
Kurusu was acting like she was really worried.
大丈夫だって。クルスが心配するようなことは何もない。ただちょっと聞きたいことがあっただけだよ。
本当にそれだけ？
本当だって。だからここで待たせてもらっていいか。
変なことじゃないわよね。ウキちゃんに聞きたいことって、あの子もいろいろ苦労してるんだから優しくしてあげなきゃダメよ。
分かってるって。
だったらいいけど。
Kurusu headed for the kitchen. She still looked worried. She was probably getting ready for dinner. For my part, I decided to sit there and wait like I said I would. Come to think of it, what happened to Aozaki Yume? I thought I saw her at Cafe Lax, but then she quickly disappeared. Maybe she was just another hallucination. I took out my phone and looked at the call history. I tapped the screen to call her number. If she answered, there was a lot I wanted to ask her. If she didn't... I wonder if she actually exists in the real world, or if that's just maybe a name that he just picked up from, I don't know, reading an article in Cool Cat Press. It was just a name that subconsciously he had come up with, or if this is an actual girl that exists in the school. As I listened to the phone ring, a strange sort of urgency started to well up within me. I'm guessing, considering the fact that he said that she was specifically, it's like he was specifically made for her, that she probably doesn't exist. There was no sign of her picking up. It rang 20 or 30 times without even going to an answering machine. I was getting nowhere, so I decided to end the call and try again. I didn't know what her plan was, but I'd make this a battle of wills. I'd keep calling again and again until she picked up. I'd call again and again and again. How many times had I called her by now? It was more times than I could count on both hands. I knew that much. But not once has she answered the phone. Maybe the monotonous sound of the ringing was getting to me because I was starting to get sleepy. It had been a stressful day, both physically and mentally. My mind, body, and soul were all worn out, and the exhaustion was building. My eyelids started to feel heavy. It became harder and harder to stay awake. No, don't fall asleep.
Takuru?
Kurusu had come back from the kitchen at some point and was standing next to me.
もうダメよ。そんなところで寝ちゃ。風邪ひいちゃうじゃない。
違う。僕は。
はいはい。わかったからこっちにいらっしゃい。お布団敷いてあげるから。
No.
ここで寝ちゃうより少しの時間でもちゃんと布団で寝た方が疲れも取れるから。ね。
Kurusu grabbed me by the hand and stood me up. It's like this is the delusion wanting to keep him here.
もうしょうがないんだから。
I didn't get the sense from Kurusu's voice that she was giving me an order. Her voice was filled with kindness and compassion. I was too tired, and her voice was too soft for me to resist. I let her take me where she wanted me to go. I was so sleepy, I wasn't even sure what I was feeling.
はい。こっちよ。
Kurusu brought me into what looked like a girl's room. Everything was colored pink and made for the taste of a little girl. Oh, this is Uki's room. Yeah, that's right. This is Uki's room. The chiflera that she got is on the side shelf in its little pot. This is definitely Uki's room. But why here?
お布団、今朝干したばかりだから、ふかふかのはずよ。
But still, it's not right to sleep in a girl's room when she isn't there. Wait, that's not the real question I should be asking. Then what is? I didn't know. Yeah, it's like Uki, whether she like is consciously creating this delusion, doesn't want him to leave. I didn't have the mental capacity left to think about it. Or perhaps it was Hypnos, the god of sleep, tempting me. Regardless, it didn't matter what it was. I just wanted to sleep. The desire to sleep was controlling my body and mind. As I fell into Uki's bed, I was surrounded by the gentle, mild scent of a young girl. It was a clean, sweet scent, like freshly washed sheets. The scent made me even more tired, and my eyelids slowly began to... My phone was making a noise in my pocket. Who could be calling at this hour? I'm sleepy. Call me some other time. But the phone didn't stop ringing no matter how long I waited. It just wouldn't stop, and even though my mind was still hazy, it felt like I had no choice but to pick up the phone. The name on the display was... Oh, right. Maybe she saw my call, many calls, and finally decided to call back. That's right, I have to find out who she is. I tried to move my fingers to tap the call icon, but my body felt far heavier than it should have. I just needed to move my finger a little, but it was like my body belonged to someone else. Or she might just hang up, but it was like my body was paralyzed and it wouldn't move. It was like I was in a dream. A dream? But then who is the one dreaming? Me? Or someone else? No, that doesn't matter. I need to pick up the phone. If I don't hurry, she'll hang up. Hurry, hurry. I put all my strength into my fingertip and was finally able to answer the call.
もしもし
My voice was so exhausted that it was hard to believe those were my own words. Even as I talked, it felt like I was going to be dragged into the forest of sleep.
もしもし
I was too out of it to even tell whose voice it was on the phone.
聞こえてる
Well, she sounds a lot more clear than she has been.
僕を呼ぶのは誰だ
聞いてタクルこのままだとあなたはずっと眠ったままになってしまうわそうなる前に早く
クルス
お願いだから目を覚ましてよ
なんでこいつらが電話は青崎夢からじゃなかったっけ
ダメだ意識レベルが
Oh, there's Kunosato as well.
このままだと宮代は死ぬぞそんな
もっと呼びかけ続けろもっとだ今以上に
I couldn't even tell who was saying what anymore. I was falling into the abyss of sleep.
聞きなさいタクルあなたがいるのは現実じゃないの現実のあなたはね大怪我をして病院のベッドの上にいるのよ
Yeah, so that's probably Uki. She felt so guilty for accidentally slicing me that she's like, I'm gonna put you in a happy delusion where you have a girlfriend and you're going to be a reporter for Nikondia News and everything is fine.
お願いだよタク思い出してこのままだと戻ってこれなくなっちゃうよタクルタクお願いだから戻ってきて
I could hear desperate cries from very close and from far away, but it was amazing how little they seemed to matter to me in this moment. Alright, so there we go. That is going to do it for this episode. So yes, things are progressively getting both better and worse. With Takeru, like, he met the girl who is, like, literally what he described as his perfect girl. So it's like, he's conjured up this perfect girl who absolutely adores and worships him, but obviously something's off because there's just these little hints of, like, the world basically saying, like, he's in a sleep, he's in a dream, and if he doesn't wake up, he won't be able to get out of it. So I'm assuming that's what the dream in Another Sky is. Like, maybe the dream one is he chooses to stay in the world, whereas Another Sky is he breaks out of it. That's my guess anyway. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned next week for part 31. Until then, bye. Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Revealing Storm, Linz VA, Kenju Storm, Icognito, Kevlar, Lucas Gomes, Jesse Pelletier Lemire, and FFGEZYEYYZYHZEY5ZY.